Hey, good morning, Mortgage Coach community. Good to have everybody here for a special call. As you know, every Tuesday we are doing a Mortgage Coach call. It's inspirational. Sometimes it's a top producer. Yesterday it was 6 amazing, badass top producers, and sometimes it's an author speaker. So Jocko was almost our guest yesterday, but we called an audible and we brought him into Wednesday's call. Again, my goal with this call and every call I do at Mortgage Coach is to get everybody to deliver a better educational experience to every family they serve. I think Jocko's book, Extreme Ownership, is just a great topic. It's going to be a great interview. Jocko Willink, welcome to the Mortgage Coach community, and thanks for making time for us.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And in preparing for this interview, I thought making it 10x better would be having Andrew Paul, also a former Navy SEAL who served in Jocko's unit, who's also a mortgage coach and a branch manager for Benchmark. So Andrew, thanks for making time, brother.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Appreciate you bringing me on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's going to be a great 30 minutes. Actually, this is going to go 60 minutes, but we've got Jocko for 30. So to set the table for the questions, Jocko, you may or may not know this, but a lot of top 1% performers in the mortgage space, they use Mortgage Coach. So we've always been attractive to the best of the best. Yesterday, I interviewed 6 amazing mortgage professionals. This probably won't surprise either of you guys, but when I added up the volume of 6 of them, it added up to about almost 800 million a year in volume, which if they were a mortgage company, it would have been the 95th largest mortgage company. So it's like these 6 are outperforming, 100 to 120 loan officers at most companies. Again, not a shocker, but I think it's an eye-opener. If anybody wasn't on that call yesterday, highly recommend you listen to it. Jocko, in giving all the answers to the question, while most of the folks on this call are loan officers, there are a lot of head of production, branch managers. So, let's try to tailor to both in the trenches loan officers and managers and executives. My last comment is if you didn't watch the video we did with Simon Sinek on the power of why, and when I interviewed the top 6 loan officers, I said, what's your all-time favorite Mortgage Coach call? All of them said this one. I think that's a powerful concept, the power of why. I do think Jocko's message around own it, it's just as powerful because it all just starts with owning it. So I'm going to introduce Andrew. Andrew's going to bring in Jocko. Andrew, again, awesome mortgage coach, former Navy SEAL. Andrew, I'll let you take it away, and we'll just start asking questions and see where it goes.
Awesome. Well, thanks for bringing me on, Dave. First of all, I know there's a lot of extremely accomplished loan officers and managers here on this call, so I'm honored to be a part of this. Thanks for allowing me to contribute. And more importantly, thanks for the honor of introducing my friend, my brother, Jocko Willink. Those of you who have not read his book yet or have not had the pleasure of listening on one of his podcasts or hearing him speak on Fox News, an extremely accomplished Navy SEAL. And I give you that context just because you wouldn't have any other way of knowing. I mean, SEALs, as you can imagine, are kind of a cut above. But among the SEAL community, Jocko is well-known and highly respected and extremely accomplished. He was my task unit commander in Ramadi in 2006, where we led 2 SEAL platoons for an incredible deployment. Involved in that deployment, you guys may have heard or read of Chris Kyle's book, American Sniper, Michael Mansour, Mark Lee, both SEALs killed in Iraq, and Jocko was our task unit commander who led us through that deployment, where we accomplished great things against our nation's enemies and for our freedom. So Jocko, highly respected author of the book Extreme Ownership, with my other brother and Bud's graduate, Leif Babin. Jocko, thanks for being on here. We've got a few questions for you, obviously, and we can't wait to hear what you're going to say. Thanks for being here, bro.
Thanks for having me on, Andrew. And if you weren't going to be on the show, I wasn't going to be on this show. So I do this for you, Andrew Paul.
Thanks, my bro. Appreciate you, man. So, all right. So there's the Extreme Ownership book, guys. Phenomenal. If you haven't read it yet, get into it. Awesome, like real-world lessons from the SEAL teams, from combat. But then Jocko does a great job of applying these things into the business world, where he's consulted with a full range and spectrum of businesses, including the mortgage business, by the way. So he has a unique perspective into the mortgage industry, as well as many other businesses. So, Jocko, let's start off with this, because in the SEAL community, 20 years ago, there was barely a book written. So, what motivated you to write the book Extreme Ownership, and what was your goal? Explain the title behind it and your goal behind writing the book for our audience.
Okay, so what happened is, while I was still in the SEAL teams and I was working as the commander of the West Coast SEAL team training, so all the SEALs that were on the West Coast going through training, and this is not the training that you see on TV where people are carrying boats on their head and they're doing a bunch of push-ups and they're freezing in the cold water. The training that I was in charge of was the actual tactical training where SEALs and SEAL platoons and SEAL task units get prepared for combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. And so it's a much more focused on tactics and leadership and training guys up how to be ready to lead troops in combat. And so when I was doing that job and I was coaching and mentoring and helping and teaching guys what I had learned, guys would always say to me, hey, you know what, do you have these lessons written down anywhere? Do you have this information? Can you give us a handout? And eventually we did get some doctrine put together for the SEAL teams so that it would be there always. And then when I retired from the SEAL teams and I started working with a bunch of different companies, working with their leadership and management, I started getting asked the same question. Hey, do you have this stuff written down anywhere? Do you have a handout we can give to the people that couldn't make it to the event, to the training? And my partner, Leif Babin, who, again, like you said, was one of the SEAL platoon commanders that was with us in Ramadi, and he had started doing the same thing with me together in our company, and we were just getting asked all the time, hey, do you have this stuff written down? So eventually we did. We started writing down some of the lessons so we could hand them out to people, and from there, you know, a literary agent got a hold of it, brought it to a publisher, and the publisher said, hey, we absolutely want to publish this and turn it into a book. And, you know, it was definitely a challenging thing from my perspective, because the way I was raised in the SEAL teams was you didn't talk about what you did, and that was the standard that I had held for 25 years. And but you know, when we weighed that against the lessons that we had learned and wanting to help people do better in their lives, lead better lives, and carry out better execution across the board in everything they do, from their life, from their business, from their marriage, from their relationships, to everything, we thought it was worth putting it out there, and that's why we ended up writing the book. Now, the title of the book that you asked about, Extreme Ownership, as we look to, you know, give the book a title, we really went through all the different principles that we talk about, and we felt that this attitude, this mindset of extreme ownership is really the most fundamental characteristic that we saw the successful leaders in the SEAL teams, in the other military units that we worked with while we were in the SEAL teams, and then when we started working with civilian companies, the key component to make the company great was an attitude of extreme ownership, and that was, you're not going to blame anybody else, you're not going to make any excuses, you're going to own everything in your world, and you're going to make it work. And when you find problems, you're going to find the solutions as well, and you're going to implement those solutions. And that's how we ended up writing the book, and that's how we ended up titling the book.
Yeah, it's awesome. And for me, on this side of it, asking these questions, I mean, I remember growing up with stories of, you know, the essay Message to Garcia and things like that, you know, where it's up to you. You got a mission and no further direction necessarily. Your leadership is expecting you to execute and perform. So, all right, so we talked about the mindset, and you put this stuff into the book, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And I agree. I mean, first of all, you guys need to know Jocko is so well respected. I look up to him personally. He was a great leader for me on deployment, and I mean, I constantly, even today, I even sometimes ask myself, what would Jocko do right now? And because I mean, in all kinds of challenges, I mean, he sits back, he analyzes the situation, and then to just borrow a term that I heard Jocko say all the time: prioritize and execute. So calm down, look around, prioritize, and execute. And so putting these lessons into this book has done, I think, a real service. Also to the SEAL community, man. I mean, you represented us well. Now, in the idea of the mindset, so what lessons in particular do you think, you know, from the SEAL teams, again, maybe borrowing from the book, do you think most relate or applicable to a loan originator? I mean, what piece of the SEAL maybe warrior mindset or our ethos? That thing. I mean, people wonder. People ask. Okay, they see the things on TV. They hear the great things the SEALs are doing, but what is it about the mindset of a SEAL? How do we think that maybe an originator who's never had that kind of experience can borrow and apply to his daily life of doing loans?
Well, I think one of the most important things that, and I wrote about it in the book, it's the last chapter in the book, and it really is my personal mantra of life, and that is discipline equals freedom. And I talk about this all the time because it really is the core principle that I believe I followed while I was in the SEAL teams, and when I got out of the SEAL teams, continued to maintain it. And it's one of those things that's a dichotomy, right? Because we all know what discipline is. Discipline is a rigid, structured system of how you're going to do things, and it's staying within bounds, and it's following rules that are in place. That's what discipline is. And the other side of that is freedom, which is, hey, I'm going to do whatever I want. And so those two things are kind of opposites. But there's a dichotomy, and what I've found is that, freedom is what we all want, right? Everybody wants to be free. We want to have, and a couple key examples that I talk about all the time are, we all want to have financial freedom, and we all want to have more free time. And those are very simple, obvious examples, because if you want to have financial freedom, what do you need to have in order to get financial freedom? You need to have financial discipline. And if you want to have more free time, how do you get more free time? You need to have a more disciplined time management schedule. So those are examples of where discipline brings you freedom. And a lot of people in the mortgage industry, they get into the mortgage industry because they see someone that's making a lot of money and has a lot of free time, and they're on the golf course, and they're buying nice new cars, and they're doing really well. They have financial freedom. They've got a lot of free time because of their job. And so people enter the industry thinking, oh, that's what I want to do. I want that kind of freedom. But what they miss, the part that they miss, is the fact that these people, when you see a successful originator, the reason that they're successful is because in the beginning they were massively disciplined, and they still are. They maintain that discipline throughout their career, but that's what gives them the freedom. So they go out, they work hard, they wake up early, they follow up on their calls, they follow up with their clients, they send, packages when someone gets into their home, they ask for referrals, they live this very disciplined life and have a very disciplined and structured way of operating, and what that results in is freedom. And so that's why I think with the mortgage industry, and really this is the same with every industry, is discipline equals freedom. And I'll tell you one more thing. It is not just about individuals. It is also the same with teams and with units. And Andrew, you remember, I mean, we were highly disciplined in everything we did. We had standard operating procedures for everything. We had standard operating procedures for how we got into vehicles, how we got out of vehicles, how we entered buildings, how we left buildings, how we got our head count, how we talked on the radio. Everything that we did was highly disciplined. And whereas people might think that that would restrict what we did on the battlefield, it actually gave us complete freedom on the battlefield. And it gave us the freedom to maneuver and operate. And I'll tell you what, it gave me the freedom to take Andrew Paul, who was on his first SEAL deployment, and send him out into the worst possible areas, leading a team. And I had complete confidence that he knew what he had to do and he was going to make it happen because he understood the discipline. He understood the standard operating procedures. He understood what the expectations of the team were. And when he had all that, he went out there and got after it. And the reason I had that freedom to do that with him and with the rest of the leadership was because we were so disciplined and we executed in such a disciplined way. And it's the same thing in the mortgage space. The more disciplined the structure and the operational elements are, the more freedom you're going to have. So the better loans you turn in up front, the more freedom you're going to have at the end of the loan cycle to execute very quickly. And it's like that across the board, really in every industry.
Well, and you know what's really funny about that, because I mean, just talking to people outside of the SEAL community, in the civilian world, there is this false perception that because really from the movies, right? That like the SEALs kind of do it their own way. They're not rigid like the Marine Corps. They don't have procedures and policies like the Army. They think that there's this view that SEALs can sometimes be kind of like the Wild West or like cowboys or whatever, and it's a misperception. It's that someone who isn't inside the SEAL community doesn't see. But to your point, really, it was this person gets in first, this person gets into the vehicle second. The head count comes up from the back. Everything was so disciplined that it just flowed, so it didn't feel restricted. But behind the scenes, what people don't realize is just how scripted and how practiced everything really was. And it really, exactly to your point. But people don't see that. Now, experienced originators on the call who have already reached a high level of success are probably just sitting there nodding their head going, yeah. Those of you who are listening to the call who maybe are doing okay and want to go to the next level, it's not coming in at 9:30. It's getting up early. It's making the hard decisions now, disciplining yourselves to do the things that don't appear to be easy, that gives you that freedom of movement that Jocko was talking about, or that you see these larger originators that perhaps you want to grow into to be more like. So I'll just throw one more, and I know, Dave, you want to weave in with some questions as well. So Jocko, if you guys want to follow Jocko, by the way, a great way to kind of get a piece of Jocko's mindset is follow him on Twitter. You'll find a 4:30 a.m. Tweet every morning from him, and I'm up there doing that the days that I can. I'm up there most days. I'll be honest, I don't hit it every day, but we're up at 4:30 working out. So Jocko, people who see that you get up at 4:30 could easily think, well, that's really extreme. So is it extreme? Or is it just an ingredient to extreme success and discipline? What do you say to somebody who goes, 4:30, F that, man, that's ridiculous. What do you say? Because I feel like I know the answer, but sell me or sell somebody who is not currently working out or not currently getting up early, how that's going to impact their life and their business.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to sell anybody anything. I'm not a salesman, and I'm not going to try and do that. I will say this, though, of the people that have, now there's thousands and thousands of people, that are on board with this program, that are getting up early, and the improvements that they're making every day. I get Facebook messages, I get texts, I get emails literally every single day from people all over the world about how their lives have changed and improved since they started with the simple discipline. And that's the thing about waking up early, is that for me, that is the beginning of the day, and it's a way to start your day in a disciplined manner, because it's a fight, right? I'll tell you right now, every morning is not the morning that I want to spring up out of bed and go hit the gym. There's days where I'm tired. I got back from Arizona yesterday. I'm flying out today back to the East Coast. Like, did I want to sleep in? Yes. You know what I did? Punish myself, wake up earlier. Because you get that discipline, and then that discipline carries over into the other things that you do. It carries over into your work. It carries over into your diet. It carries over into your workout. It carries over into the decisions that you're making that are going to improve your life, because you're not going to wake up and make one decision that's going to change your life. I don't believe that. Now, what you are going to do is you're going to make a bunch of small decisions every single day that over time are going to change your life and put you in a situation where you want to be. So, yeah, wake up early. That's step one in a bunch of different steps that you've got to take to get to where you want to be.
And discipline feeds discipline.
It does. And there were some people that were debating with me on social media, which I actually don't do that very often, but there were some folks that were saying, basically that your will runs out over time, and through the day your will gets weaker. And I actually disagree with that. I think that when you are disciplined, your discipline grows, your discipline gets stronger. You become more disciplined when you are disciplined. So, and I find that with myself, if I have a day where something goes wrong, or I can't get my workout in, guess what? The next thing you know, I'm eating a bunch of crappy food, and then the next thing you know, I'm slacking off and watching some random YouTube videos and wasting my time there. Whereas my normal day, where I get up and I get on track, I don't make those mistakes. I don't slip up, because the discipline reinforces more discipline.
Agreed. 100%.
So
Go ahead, Dave.
yeah, so real quick, everyone, I have put links to Jocko's podcast, to his Twitter. We've given you a spoon feed. Go order Jocko's book. So I mean, the questions have been awesome. I guess one place I'd like to take it, Jocko, because you have, spoken to so many mortgage professionals. You've spoken to executives. You've coached executives in our space. I think a dichotomy that we have in our industry is that you have loan officers, whether you're a branch manager who's managing a group of 10, whether you're a CEO that's managing, regionals, we tend to treat our sales force like almost like a union. There's sometimes I think there's just there could be more leadership to help drive better habits, better systems. So what advice, whether you're talking to a branch manager or whether you're talking to a CEO of a mortgage company, what type of advice do you have for them to get all their loan officers kind of walking in the right direction, doing a better job of following the corporate's best practices? Obviously in our world we care about the type of technology they use and how they use it. But what advice do you have to the C-suite and branch managers in the mortgage space as it pertains to this?
Well, this is a question that I get from every different industry is, we've got our people and they're not doing what we want them to do. And to kind of counter something that Andrew said earlier, that people have this image that SEALs are a bunch of cowboys, and that is an image that people have. People also have the image that in the military, if I tell Andrew to do something, then he just blindly obeys my order without any question like a robot. And that's absolutely not true. And it's just like it's not true in the mortgage industry, just like it's not true in any situation in the world. I mean, the only reason that people have that impression is you see movies with boot camp. And yes, in boot camp, if a drill instructor tells you to drop down and do 100 push-ups, you drop down and do 100 push-ups. But there's the reality is that people in the SEAL teams and people everywhere are people. And so they're not robots. You can't just order them to do things. And what you have to do is you have to explain to people why they're doing what they're doing and how come it is important, why it's important, and how it's going to affect them at the end of the day. So if you just randomly tell loan officers, hey, I want you to do this many meetings a day, and they go, okay, they might do that for a day, they might do it for a week, but all you're trying to do is impose something on top of them. And people do not like having things imposed on top of them. They don't like that. And so what you really need to do is you need to lead them. You need to lead them. And the best way to lead people is to start off by explaining them why they're doing what they're doing. So, hey, by the way, the reason we want you to get this, do this many meetings is because it's going to have this many percentage of fallout that's going to turn in, and this many is going to turn into applications. And from those applications, here's where you're going to be. And by the way, when we increase the number of applications that are coming through, we're going to increase the number of applications we going into operations. The more applications we have coming into operations, the more people we can hire in operations, the more efficient we're going to become. Then the more efficient we become, the more we can lower our rates. And now you're going to go out and you're going to get even more people. So you got to explain to the frontline trooper why it's having an impact, why these things that you want them to do, why they're important. And, I'm sure Andrew could tell you that, for instance, I did have a higher standard with guys' uniforms. And because SEALs did have a reputation of just being cowboys. And so I just didn't go, hey, guys, you will do what I say. No, I said, hey, guys, listen, we got a bad reputation of looking like cowboys. That's not good. We want to build a great reputation. We want to come across to the Army and the Marine Corps as real professionals so that we can do more operations. And that's why we're going to look sharp. Every time we walk off of our base, I don't care what you look like on our base, but when you walk off our base, you're going to look professional because that's going to get us better respect. That's going to get us a better reputation, and that's going to get us to more operations. I didn't just tell them what to do. So, Andrew, you want to comment on that?
Dude, I remember. So I had one set. I mean, this is in Ramadi in the wild west of Iraq, in the middle of the insurgency, and I had one set of camis that was like perfectly starched. And I remember when I went up from Shark Base out to Corregidor, and it was run by the Army. And so we were basically working with them / for them in their battle space. And to Jocko's point, it was, look, we don't want, there's maybe a misperception or preconceived idea of how SEALs act or carry themselves. And so we had our heads all shaved, cut short, and I put on these starched pair of camis and polished boots in the middle of the desert of Iraq and showed up to this army camp. And they were blown away. They were like, I don't think I've ever seen a pair of starched camis on a Navy SEAL before. But, I mean, there went any possible dismissal of whether or not we were there to be disciplined and to do our part at the level that they expected, right? So I got that, just kind of a funny anecdote. I remember that they were like, they couldn't believe I showed up in starched camis.
Yeah, and Andrew, I just didn't order Andrew wear starched camis. No, Andrew, here's why it's important. Here's what this is going to do for us. This is what it's going to do for the mission. Because you remember, it's not just, hey, we want to operate more. We want to operate more because the more SEALs are out in the battle space, the more enemy gets killed, the more Americans come home alive. So this is real stuff. And that's why we held the line on everything, and my guys always knew why we were doing what we were doing.
So everybody on this call, feel free to submit questions. I see a number of questions that have come in. My hope is that, we're having a great interview with Jocko. Hopefully there'll be more opportunities to ask him questions. But please submit questions in GoToMeeting that you'd like us to ask Jocko during this call. Well, Jocko's going to need to leave pretty soon here. Andrew and I are going to stay on the call. I'm going to continue to interview Andrew, both from his perspective as a Navy SEAL, how would he respond? And I think no one better than to say, what would Jocko say? So one question I want to make sure we get before you leave, Jocko, is what you said, okay, the why. It's important for a leader, but let's be practical. Let's say a CEO rolls out some new technology. They've made a several $100,000 investment. They have had they kicked it off. They've told the why. They've showed the how. What else do they need to do to drive success and adoption in the weeks and the months to come? And obviously, they do have a sales force that's entrepreneurial. They're not able to manage them. What are some other practical tactics to help drive success around corporate initiatives, given what you know about our industry?
You definitely have to hit people with communications from multiple different angles. So, in other words, that one call that we did where I announced this thing and told everyone how great it was going to be, that doesn't hit everybody. And even the people that hear it, it doesn't necessarily sink in. What you have to do is you have to do a campaign to get people's minds to shift to what you're trying to make happen. And I'll tell you, like I said, when I showed up when I was in charge of Task Unit Bruiser, so I was working with Andrew and the rest of the team, I didn't just show up and instantly formulate and mold them into what I wanted them to be. It took a long time, and it took a campaign of, hey, we're going to be professional. We're going to work harder than anybody else. We're going to, if a normal platoon does 3 rehearsals, we're going to do 7 rehearsals. We're going to make sure our new guys are up to speed. We're going to make sure we put our junior people into leadership positions. We're going to make sure that when we do the administrative work that we're required to do, we're actually going to focus on the administrative work and do it better than anyone else is doing it. Every single thing that we do, we are going to go to the absolute extreme of excellence. And that campaign was daily. It was hourly. That's how we ran. And so when you can't think that you're going to flip a switch with a human being and you're going to change their habits, change their attitudes with one call, with one comment, with one PowerPoint, with one webinar. It's not going to happen. What you have to do is you have to run a campaign, and you have to join them in that campaign. And you have to understand what their perspective is and understand where the resistance is coming from. Why aren't they doing that? Why don't they understand that this is important? And once you say, oh, okay, I see it from their perspective, now let me address that properly. And that's that idea of really doing a campaign and continuing to work and continuing to push and continuing to hold the line is what leadership is. Leadership isn't putting together one good brief, one good PowerPoint, one good webinar, one good speech. That's not what leadership is. Leadership is a daily challenge, a daily endeavor, an hourly endeavor and an endeavor that adapts from, I have to treat Andrew one way because he's got a certain attitude, and maybe one of the other leadership, I have to nuance that and change a little bit and do something a little bit different to find what's motivating them and what's going to make them give their utmost. And it's going to be a little bit different with each person, and how you do that and how you get to know and build relationships with your troopers so that they're on board and they drive themselves. Because that's what the end state is. The end state is you want your leaders to lead. I don't want to have to lead them. I want to be able to sit back and observe and look up and out and figure out what the next target is a mile down the road. That's what I want to do. And the way you get that to happen is by, you have to raise your leaders, you have to let them lead, and then you have to shoo them on their way so they get out there and make it happen with your guidance.
Love it. So we'll unpack everything Jocko just said in a minute. I do want to be respectful because Jocko's got to catch a flight and go out and serve another company on the other side of the country. So Jocko, I would love for the mortgage industry to just buy in more to you. I want more of your books purchased. I want, Andrew and I will talk about how they can get that. But if a senior leader on this call or a loan officer on this call wanted to forward this call to their senior leader and have you speak at a sales rally, have you come in and deliver more value than you've done today, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They can email info@echelonfront.com, and I guess I'll type that in the little message box here to start. And yeah, that's a good way to get it started. And like I said, I'm on Twitter the most, and if people aren't getting any, or they need to get a hold of me, you can just Google Jocko. It's going to come up with Twitter, and you can hit me up on Twitter. I'm pretty responsive on that, and that'll do it.
Good, folks. Well, Jocko is trending in the mortgage industry. Get his book. Again, we're going to talk about that more in a minute. Some of the links to this are in here. Andrew, let's make sure when Jocko jumps off that we promote a few more of these things. Andrew, anything else you want to ask Jocko before we let him run?
No, I mean, I think you gotta roll, man. I mean, I can unpack a lot of stuff. If you guys have got questions, I don't know if we've got time for any more with them right now.
Jocko, thank you very much. Anything you want to say, Jocko, before you jump?
Hey, everyone that's out there working hard, we appreciate it. And Andrew and I were talking before the call started. If you hadn't heard, there was another SEAL that was killed in Iraq yesterday, Charles Keating. And every time any service member gets killed overseas, it's a travesty. And I would just say to everyone on the call that this is a gift for you, for me, for Andrew, for Dave, and for everyone on the call to have the freedom to do what you want to do in your life and have the freedom to pursue happiness and life and liberty. And so don't squander that. Take advantage of it. Work hard and give every day and every second of every day everything that you got. That's all I got. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, and good luck, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for your service and all the time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to keep rolling. We got lots of questions that have come in. I mean, everything's flooded. Jocko might be gone, but a lot of folks are just saying thank you for your service, Jocko. So thank you. We're grateful for the entire mortgage coach community.
Hey, Andrew, Dave, I got to interrupt you here for a second. There's an emergency in our building right now, actually, and they're evacuating my building. So I'm writing down the call-in number. I'm going to grab my cell phone. I'm going to step out of here, and I'm going to call you back in here in just a minute, okay?
All right. All right.
Give me 2 minutes. They're doing an evac on the building. The timing is great. All right.
All right. We'll see you in a few.
Bye-bye.
So, Marcy, and by the way, I mean, what a fitting. We've got a Navy SEAL on the call, and we just got thrown a curveball, and we're going to adapt, and keep it rolling. So I'm going to unpack what Jocko said, and then I think the first question I'm going to ask Andrew when he gets in is, let's face it, in the mortgage industry, there's two kinds of loans with problems and loans with solved problems. And so I think, the concept of how do we keep our head, how do we, execute when we're just constantly getting thrown curveballs, I think will be a great way to bring Andrew back into the call. So I want to unpack what Jocko said for and again, I'm going to try to do this in a way that if you're a loan officer, it's relevant. If you're a branch manager, it's relevant. If you're a regional leader that's managing, a bunch of branch managers, or whether you're head of production that has a bunch of regionals, it's all the same. Change is hard. And when it comes to adopting, new technology, I'll bring this to mortgage coach land, the concept of, hey, I know there's a better way to deliver advice to families who are getting into debt. I know there's a way that when they come into my office, I'm going to deliver a better educational experience, when I'm just forwarding them a link or I'm meeting with them. Everybody on this call, you are either a mortgage coach and you have this technology, or you're part of our community and you're coming in as a guest. We all know that this is the better way to do things, that every family should get a mortgage coach total cost analysis, but yet not every loan officer changes. And I think, the biggest mistake I see individual loan officers make is they don't look at it as a campaign. They're like, okay, I'll log in and I'll try it and, see how it goes. And, my advice to every loan officer is you got to look past that. If you're new to mortgage coach, and by the way, this is any technology, whether it's a CRM, whether it's an LOS, it's literally think about how many times you need to do something to where you have this 101 understanding. In mortgage coach, it's 20 total cost analysis. If you can create 20 TCAs, total cost analysis, you're there. You're going to get feedback. Your why is going to grow. You're going to have this tactical competence. And so to get to 20. And if you're a branch manager and you got 10 loan officers, it's all about getting them to have their eye on the prize. And then it's a campaign. It's not just a kickoff where, hey guys, this is why you should do it. This is how you should do it. And now I go dark for a month. No, it's a campaign that's intense for 30 days, and then it's maintenancing for a quarter. And in mortgage coach land, it could take a year to create this, just requirement that every family gets a total cost analysis. And if you're a big company and you've got hundreds of loan officers, it could take a couple of years. So Andrew, it looks like you've come back. Are you back, my brother?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So anyways, that was pretty fitting, knowing that the next question I'm going to ask you is how do SEALs deal with adversity? And obviously you guys have an extreme level of adversity that, us civilians cannot even comprehend. But let's talk about that, and then let's bring it down to the ground level of an originator to the best of your ability.
Well, at the originator level, operationally, it can seem at times like you're constantly putting out fires, right? It's kind of like what's happening right now in this building I work in. And, when a challenge comes up on the battlefield, you have to just remain calm. Look around, figure out what the problem is, determine what the solution is, so prioritize, and then execute. A lot of people start freaking out. They start spinning around a lot of different directions, and they just create more chaos that doesn't do anything to solve the problem. So, we're training young, new guys who are going through SEAL training. So after they get through BUDS, they go on to advanced training called SEAL Qualification training, for example. They're really starting to learn how to do what we call IADs, immediate action drills. And these are like either squad or platoon size movements. And one of the things you see, especially with the officers, so there could be like 2 officers with 16 guys, and they're brand new. They've never led a break contract or immediate action drill before. And, at the beginning, these guys that you see it, they want to be like Rambo. They want to be like the guy in charge yelling and barking orders, and they want to be literally taking the guys that work for them and saying, hey, you shoot that guy, and then they'll take another. I've seen this happen. So you aim that way. And it's like, and you have to grab these guys and go, hang on a minute. You got contacted. You're taking fire from a certain direction. What's the first thing you do? Get down and take cover. Step 2, return fire. Now you as the leader, stop shooting. Pick your head up a little bit, look around, find the direction that you need to maneuver your element, and begin to give direction as to where you need to go. But if you start getting into the point where you're saying, hey, you shoot that guy,
hey, you block, I mean, that's, you can't do that level of detail, i.e. micromanage, right? Take a step back. You got to take your head out of the problem and lead, right? So, I mean, I bet you, like on my deployment to Iraq in 2006 with Jocko probably fired a sum total of 30 rounds the entire deployment. I don't know, that may be an underestimate, but the point is that he wasn't aiming down the gun firing. He was taking a step back, coordinating airstrikes, coordinating with higher headquarters, relaying information, looking to see where the enemy may be maneuvering so we can place other elements as in response. So I guess in summary, in adversity and challenges and fires and things that pop up, there's an immediate response. Get down and take cover. Return fire. And then just calm the F down, look around, and decide what you need to do.
So let's peel back the onion one layer further, because I mean, that, okay, makes sense, but let's face it, there's some loan officers that do a better job keeping calm, some human beings that keep calm and work through it, and there's some human beings that just start emotionally reacting or not preparing. What advice do you have for someone to just improve their mental toughness, improve keeping calm? Just the concept of not emotionally getting ahead of yourself. Any wisdom or any training you guys did to help improve that?
So we train to that. So we intentionally put guys in challenging situations so that they have to build up the habit, the repetition, and of how to react. Because you're right. I mean, not everybody responds the same way. I mean, to a certain degree, in the SEAL teams, we're weeding out people who just aren't going to be able to do that. And then there's other people who need a minimum cut and they just need to be improved, and you just do that through repetition and through practice. But to your point, what they say, opposites attract, right? And then they attack. My wife and I, in this regard, could not be any more different. She reacts emotionally to everything, and so just case in point, so she had a job to do last Saturday morning, and she had to be at this job site at 6:30 in the morning, and she was going to get up at 5 to get ready to go. Well, I walk in the room at about 6:20, and she's still in bed, and I go, hey, aren't you supposed to be there in like 10 minutes? I mean, I wasn't keeping track of her schedule exactly, but I remembered she had to be there about that time. She flies out of bed. She literally, so she calls the people who's supposed to go meet. She goes, I'm terribly sorry. I'm running late. I'm only about 10 minutes away. I've just got to shower, get ready, and I'll be over there. And as soon as she hung up the phone, she almost started to hyperventilate. She was getting ready to start crying. She goes, what do I do? What do I do? I said, first of all, just relax. And to answer your question, the way I appealed to her was, I said, the first thing you've got to realize is that standing here and talking to me about it isn't going to get you there any faster. Getting ready to start crying about it right now isn't going to prepare you to do the job that you've got to do once you get there. It's only going to lead to a deteriorated mental state. Now, my poor wife isn't here to defend herself, and I don't mean to pick on her, but just to use her as a real-world example. And I said, what you do is just get ready, get there. When you show up, you say, I'm sorry I'm late, let's get to work. And it's funny, at the end of the day, so she's an actor, so the director said, yes, we were standing around waiting, but I really appreciated that you showed up and you said, hey, I'm ready to get to work, and we just went right to work. So it's just an analogy that I can share with you. And in our business, I would say, if you have a client who calls in upset and frustrated, maybe the closing didn't go on time, maybe they didn't understand something, maybe you felt like you explained it very well to them, but later on they felt you didn't disclose a fee a certain way, or who knows, and they're upset. Just calm down and listen to what they say. And if you're the type of person who initially just sort of reacts right away, start to build the habit of biting your tongue for a moment. And over time, of biting your tongue rather than just blurting right back out, you'll build a habit and you'll build the skill of not reacting, but rather just listening, discerning, prioritizing, and then executing, or I would say responding. responding rather than reacting.
Easier said than done, but good wisdom, much appreciated. So again, you know, because you've been at the power user roundtable that I had in San Diego, where when I'm in cities, sometimes I'll invite top mortgage coach users to, brainstorm, talk, share ideas. One of my missions and one of the reasons why I do these calls is to get mortgage coach loan officers to, that use their tool, use mortgage coach more often. And so, any wisdom you have from a Navy SEALs perspective, I mean, I love this quote from Simon Sinek that I have on the screen right now. Great leaders don't blame the tools they are given. They work to sharpen them. It's a great message, easier said than done, but what wisdom do you have knowing that I want to get mortgage coach users, everybody on this call either has the mortgage coach total cost analysis at their disposal. How do you approach that, and what advice do you have to our community?
Well, first of all, the guys who are on here probably know, or at least are aware, that Mortgage Coach is an incredible tool to help you deliver information more clearly, more concisely, more professionally, to potentially win a deal from a competitor that you might have otherwise lost, and certainly build some efficiencies into your process. But it's a tool, and like anything, you've got to know how to use your tool. In the SEAL teams, they're just kind of one of those sayings, I'm sure it may even be universal across military, to say, take care of your gear, and your gear, hold on, take care of your gear, and your gear will take care of you. And so, okay, I'm not on the SEAL teams anymore. I'm not talking about an automatic weapon here, or dive equipment, or a parachute from jumping out of an airplane, but my gear, part of my gear, is Mortgage Coach. And so if you've made the commitment that, hey, you recognize that this is a tool that can give you an edge in the business, then that's your gear. So take care of your gear. What do I mean by that? Get in there and build your templates if you haven't done so. Familiarize yourself. Put together total cost analysis and do it over and over and over again, so that when the time comes, if you've got a client who wants some squirrely analysis or comparison, and bang, you just know exactly how to utilize the Mortgage Coach tool to deliver the information in a way that they go, oh, that's perfect, I get it, and bang, they go with you and not the competitor. So take care of your gear, and your gear will take care of you. But if you've got Mortgage Coach, but you're not spending the time, you're not doing the TCAs, you're not doing the analysis, you haven't built out your free templates and scenarios, it's just not gonna be a useful tool for you. So take care of your gear, and your gear will take care of you.
Love it, love it. So another, call it Mortgage Coach leadership question. When I interviewed these 5 top originators, again, every one of them, some of them had done over 1,000 Mortgage Coach TCAs. The lowest number of TCAs was Kelly Zitla, who was almost, she was, I think, 260, heading to 300, but she was the newest on the team. But when you ask the question, what percentage of the families that you serve get a total cost analysis, and the answer was everyone. It was about consistency and doing the same thing for everybody at the highest level of excellence possible. How do you approach that, and what are your thoughts on how we can, one, obviously from a leadership perspective, I do calls like this to drive that, but what advice do you have?
I would say that you need to make your goal to get every client that you come in contact with a total cost analysis, because they're going to benefit from it. There's really nothing like it that delivers the information as clearly and concisely as it does, and it's so efficient. I mean, I've geeked out trying to build my own spreadsheets and stuff over the years, and Mortgage Coach just makes it easy. But I think when you do that, you build a certain level of professionalism in the experience that the client has with you, and I just think that just leads to more referrals. I mean, I'm giving you the reasons, on why to do it. But I think that's why you need to make it your goal to give every person you come in contact with, you get that far in the process, give them that total cost analysis.
Love it. So I'm going to try to get some questions from the audience. We do have a lot of them, but it's almost like an overwhelming number of questions. So everybody on this call, I'm going to try to get Jocko back in the Mortgage Coach community. I have got, my inbox is full of a bunch of questions. You guys are sending me any questions, but seriously, I think there's a good chance that we get Andrew and Jocko back on a call and just go through, a bunch of questions from you. So please continue to submit those. We've got about 10 minutes left in this conversation, and I know something that's really passionate to you just because I know you on a personal level, and we did a lot of prep for this call, but we both align on the concept that in order to be your best, whether you're a mortgage coach at anything you do, it's all about energy, bringing personal energy and passion to the table for every family that you serve. So why don't we let's talk about that. What's your take on how to, advice to the mortgage industry, advice to the loan officers and the folks that are your peers in the industry. What can we all do to enhance our energy and, walk us through your playbook?
I'd say be in or be out. I mean, if you're in this business, be all in. Everything in life is worth doing absolutely to the nth degree. I mean, if you're showing up at 9:30 and you're leaving at 3 o'clock, I mean, maybe you're at a stage in your life where that makes sense for you. Okay, but that, for me and the people that I surround myself, the team that I'm building here in San Diego, that's not the kind of people I want to surround myself with. I mean, that just may be a different phase in their life, but everything is done at a level that is way above average, to put it bluntly. So, but we mentioned earlier talking with Jocko, disciplines feed disciplines. So, look, and nothing's perfect. I mean, I got a wife and kids and competing requirements too, just like everybody else in here. But for example, one of the things I am passionate about is staying healthy physically. And emotionally, mentally. So you gotta balance all those things. So we're out here either already crushing it in the mortgage business or trying to continue to or go to the next goal. But a stark contrast for me transitioning from a SEAL team to the mortgage business is now in the mortgage business, I pretty much sit at a desk all day. And it used to be my job to be in shape. It used to be my job to be physically and mentally more prepared than our nation's greatest enemies. And now it's like, it's a little bit different, obviously. And it's up to me to work out. There's nobody else saying, hey, it's part of your job to work out. But, look, just physiologically, you need to stay in shape physically. And if you don't know, just ask a doctor. When you stay in shape physically, when you work out and build a routine, you actually will have more energy. And so if you're passionate about the mortgage business, if you're passionate about serving people in this way, in this skill set, in this vocation or profession, then I would encourage you to also work out. So, hey, get on Twitter with Jocko. I'm on there. There's tons of other people, and it's kind of fun. We're posting pictures of our watches at 4:30. I slept into 4:50 the other morning, and work out. And you will find that you have more energy to give to your clients, to the mortgage business, more energy to give to your church, to your community, to your kids, to volunteer at school, whatever that may be for you. So I just want to encourage you, if you want to make it long-term in this business, you've got to take care of yourself. Because, look, the mortgage industry as a community is aging. I don't know the average age, but I heard it's up there. And so if you want to make it long-term and not look, this is kind of blunt reality check, but you don't want to drop dead from a heart attack. You need to stay healthy. You need to watch what you eat. You need to watch what you put in between your ears and your eyes, what you're watching, what you're listening to, and you need to work out. And that will set you up for the marathon that this business is, for long-term wealth, for long-term impact and making a difference in the community in which you serve. So, getting up at 4:30 and working out isn't just like, wow, there's a reason for it, and there's a certain sense of accountability. So get on there at Twitter with us. Post at 4:30, tag, hashtag us or whatever it's called on Twitter. And let's get your workout on with us.
Love it, love it. So great push to the mortgage coach community. I wake up close, between 4 and 5. I'm going to be more disciplined. I'm going to raise the bar, and you've inspired me, brother. Just the prep calls we had as we were getting ready for this call. So folks, you heard Andrew. I showed you his Facebook page. Before this call, I said, hey, do you mind if folks connect with you? This is an American hero we have on the phone. Jocko is an American hero. Connect with these guys. These are not only peers in the mortgage industry. They're leaders. They're people I look up to, and really grateful for everything you've delivered here, my brother. So as we wrap up, we've got less than 5 minutes. Anything else you want to just say? You know, you're on the call with a lot of great mortgage coaches. While we have, you know, hundreds listening to this call, I have a feeling this call is going to trend, and, you know, could be thousands of mortgage professionals that will have access to it. Any words of wisdom for the mortgage industry as we get into wrap-up mode here?
Absolutely. I would tell you that I think the biggest threat right now to our industry, this goes for both the real estate industry as well as the mortgage industry, is the commoditization of our services. And, you know, obviously we've been being attacked in this regard for longer than the real estate community, but, you know, online lenders, you know, I'll just leave names out for the moment, but, you know, that wanted to sort of commoditize, make it the quick online deal. I mean, for me, for my business, and I know a lot of guys listening on this call, and the guys who I know who are heavily involved in the mortgage coach community, is about relationships and about serving clients at the highest possible level. And when we commoditize our service and we devalue our service, and then what's the difference between you or me or anywhere online or some random call center where some loan officer is just getting paid $300 a file and they're taking 500 applications a day? That begins to devalue the level of service that we provide. And so what I would say is that we need to band together. Those of us who want to serve in the way that we do already, we need to mastermind with one another. You need to connect with one another. You need to build one another up. I have no secrets. I am willing to share. And look, there are guys on this call doing 10 times the production that I do, but I'm, you know, a pretty good producer. But I mean, I know that in the context of this call, there are guys who are more accomplished in the mortgage business than I am. But I would just say, look, you know, just like in the SEAL teams, just to draw another analogy there, we need to band together. The pros need to band together, and we need to mastermind with one another. Personally, I develop all kinds of things and processes, and I have no secrets. I am willing to share anything I do with any of you. Why? Because none of you are my competition. I've never competed with any of you, to my knowledge. And if I share something with you and you get something from it, you know, we both become better. We build a stronger community of professionals, and we begin to set ourselves apart and draw a line in the sand from the quality of our service compared to, you know, what else I'm talking about, riding a rocket to the moon and stuff like that. So let's band together as the professionals that we are, and really drive that gold standard. And just again, I would just say in that regard, reach out to me anytime. If you're in San Diego, you're traveling, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to connect with you. And if I can help you, I'll do it.
I love it. And I have a mission. This whole year I came into the year saying I need to connect with more mortgage coach professionals. We need to do more masterminding, so I've been doing more lunches. Yesterday's call, if you were not on that call, I mean, I can't recommend enough. Listen to it. And part of my call to action to our mortgage coach community was mastermind more. You know, reach out to each other on Facebook. If you want us to help you connect with a top mortgage coach in the city that you serve, you know, post something on our Facebook page, and we'll tag a couple top mortgage coaches, and we'll help introduce you. When I come to a city, I'm always looking at who uses our product the most, and I'm inviting them out to lunch. So as we wrap up, I want to really push everybody. If you're on this call and you have not listened to the interview I did with Simon Sinek last year, listen to it. It will grow your why. You know, why should I use Mortgage Coach? Why should I go the extra step for every family that I serve? If you just want to get more tactical, when I interviewed these top loan officers yesterday, and I asked them, what was your favorite call? You know, they all wanted Simon Sinek, and a number of them called out to this interview I did in 2014 with the Gaylord Hanson team in San Diego. But it really is. It's one of those just great tactical interviews that will give you strategies. So I hope this has been a valuable call for everyone. This call, like all of our calls, will be available on our YouTube channel by end of day. You know, connect with us online. You know, connect with us on Facebook, connect with us on LinkedIn, and hopefully this was a valuable hour of your time. Andrew, I'm grateful, brother. Any last words? I'll give you the last words as we wrap it up.
Bring it to the next level. Don't settle for mediocrity. Mediocrity sucks. Work hard, do the right thing, represent our community, and just a plug for Jocko, my brother, who has written a great book. If you haven't got it already, buy a copy, rather buy a case. I bought a case and ran out. I'm giving them away to realtors I work with, financial planners I work with, other loan officers. I think it's a great message, and again, Jocko is so highly respected within our SEAL community. I'm proud of the book he wrote, and I know it will make a great business book to give and a great conversation piece. So buy a case of them and give them away as little appreciation gifts to those people you work with. But thank you for having me on the call, Dave. I'm honored to be here. I know I'm surrounded by professionals who have got more experience and perhaps even greater production than I do. So I'm honored to have the opportunity to be on the call with you.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for the value you brought to the call today. So everybody have an awesome week, and look forward to the next time we have Andrew on a call and the next time we get Jocko in our community. Take care, everybody.